Well, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And can you tell us your full name and what do you do?
Yeah, my name is Murisa Harba. I'm an actress, director, thought leader, acting coach, and international best-selling author.
Nice.
Yeah.
And can you tell us some of your credits?
Yeah, absolutely. So as an actor, I think my favorite project to date is called The Shattering, and it's on Amazon Prime. It's a feature length. I play the lead character, Claire. It's a psychological drama. It was one of the hardest pieces I've ever done. And I actually was able to win 4 Best Actress in a Feature awards at various festivals around town, including Lady Filmmakers, which I just went to this past weekend for another film. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And any TV shows, any...
Primarily film.
Okay.
Yeah, I really love independent film and just, people's stories that they want to tell and just the voice that comes through with film. I, for whatever reason, have leaned in that direction.
All right. And you've been acting for how long now?
Professionally since I was 18.
Okay.
So a long time.
All right. All right. And what made you become an actor?
I caught the bug when I was 5 years old. I watched the movie Dirty Dancing, and the acting, the dancing in that, the storyline, I was just hooked. And I remember in kindergarten, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it was actress immediately, always.
Okay, so you just love it.
Yeah,
5 years old.
I just caught it real early.
All right, excellent. And can you tell us your technique? Because you're an acting coach.
Yes.
And you have an acting studio.
Yeah.
Can we just learn about your technique?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually have 2 techniques. One is called the Chakra approach, and that is learning to break down the body's instruments, right? Your body is your instrument. You break down the body into 7 energy centers, and then there's certain qualities of emotion that match those energy centers. And so when you learn to play your body like an instrument, you can intentionally and repeatedly on set for different takes, play an emotion that doesn't have to do anything with emotional recall. So your body knows what the emotion is and where it lives in the body. So when you intentionally call on it in a scene, when you're doing a take, you can repeat that 42 times on set if you need to, without losing, your momentum or losing all of that emotional goodness that, you try to make happen in those first couple takes. Because after if you're doing a 12-hour scene, a scene over 12 hours, right, on set, and there's 4 characters, they have to get everybody's, the wide for everybody, the close-ups for everybody, the mediums for everybody, the 2-shot. If you drop to the floor, there's a level change in camera. So think about how many shots that is. And if you have to drop to your knees crying, which was actually happened in The Shattering, that the movie I just told you about before, if I didn't have that technique, I would have lost it. It was a 12-hour shoot. I had to drop to my knees 42 times. And without the Chakra approach, I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And for your technique to be repeatable, it's one thing if you can do it once, and that's amazing. If you can do it twice and we cross our fingers, okay, great. But when you get upwards of 10 takes from different angles, if you can't bring it, you become a liability on set. And I don't want that for me, and I don't want that for any actors out there.
And how did you develop this technique?
Great question. So I had become aware, I've learned of the energy centers in the body, and I had been looking for a technique because I had studied pretty much everything. I went to school at Boston University. It was a Stanislavski-based curriculum. We did Meisner, we did Stella Adler, even Grotowski, many different techniques out there. And I felt like I was always 86% of the way there, where it wasn't bulletproof. And moving from New Jersey to LA, I left my whole family behind, as so many actors do when they follow a dream of being in show business, right? And for me, the stakes were really high. I didn't want to leave my family. So if I was coming out to follow my dream, I needed it to be bulletproof. And so I'd been looking for something to get me over from 86 to 100%. And when I came across the chakras, I had been teaching at another studio at that time, and I started to experiment with the exercises I would bring in at the beginning of class. And ultimately, that's where I started to explore what I now call the chakra warm-up, which allows an actor to embody all of these emotions at once in a row, kind of like playing a scale. Like when you learn a new instrument, what do? You learn the notes and then you play scales, right? And being able to switch between notes allows you to have the dexterity to then play a song with confidence. And so it started to develop back in, say, 2012. And then I started my own studio about the work in 2013. And we did a chakra warm-up every single class. At the beginning of every 3-hour class, we did that first. And the emotional depth that my actors were able to bring to their work, to be able to take a note and tap into something immediately without having to kind of think about it, because they could feel it. They could see, okay, well, I have to drop in over here. I have to drop in here. Oh, it's caught here. Oh, it's this aha moment, right? That allowed them to not only own their own artistry and develop their artistry, but then be so directable by any director, even a director who's not really an actor's director, right? And sometimes you can get a direction that feels a little confusing, right? Like, what do you actually mean? And with the language, I empower my actors to be able to ask questions so that you can actually extract from any director what it is that they actually want, so that you can make the adjustment in your body and nail it on the next take. And I've worked with directors on this technique. They love it because it's so actionable. Right away, you get a result. You say one thing and then you see it change on camera, and it's amazing. It's so specific and actionable that you get what you want right away. Both parties are happy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how long does it take for somebody to not master, but to be comfortable with this technique?
Yeah. So when a new actor comes into the studio and they do a chakra warm-up, usually they'll feel connected to like 2 or 3 chakras more than other ones. And it will affect them deeply. And maybe some of the other ones feel a little fuzzy. And then over time, as you explore more situations per energy center, it sort of fills in the gaps, and you start to understand life more because you're out using your body in everyday situations all the time. So you can see, a homeless person behaving a certain way and realize, oh my gosh, they're en route right now. Oh, I see that in life, and now I can bring that to my work because I've seen it. Or I see, my parents fighting and they're no one's listening to each other, and they're really both in their power, but not in their heart, right? And so when one person shifts, you can start to see the dance that's created. And that level of specificity and nuance, when you bring that to a role, is just, it's my favorite thing. Yeah.
All right. And your classes, are they on camera?
Yes. So we have both in-person and online on-camera classes, and scene study without camera as well. So it's really important across the board that my actors feel challenged all the time. That was one of the reasons that I started this studio, was so that students could have a place to feel safe enough to take those risks, to push themselves out of their comfort zone, because you can't just force yourself into a new space if you don't feel safe, right? And it's been proven that the safer you feel, the better the output is of the quality of your work. So that was what spurred me to start the studio back in 2013. And it was something that I wasn't really finding around LA. A lot of other places felt pretty competitive. And there are some egos a lot, you sort of see that around LA, but the people who want to do good work, I wanted a place for them. Me being one of them, I wasn't Meryl Streep yet, right? I wanted a place where I could flex and feel like I could explore, but also maybe fall down, because that's where the growth happens. If you can feel that brave to push the edges of your craft 1% every time you come in, that is measurable growth.
Yeah, so it's a gradual growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. They say acting is doing. You got to keep on acting,
Absolutely.
go to class, and yeah. So, and you wrote a book about all this, right?
I did.
Okay.
I did. It's right here.
All right. And what's the name of it?
It's called Acting with Energy, which is exactly what it is. Yep.
There we go.
So Acting with Energy is, this is a local LA artist, actually, Dee Dee Sheriel, and her art was so evocative to me because this is sort of part of what we do in our chakra warm-up, right? We have our hands and we're pushing energy, maneuvering and matching our voice to our energy and to our bodies, to our emotions, to our focus, and being able to focus that specifically on your scene partner, right? When you walk into a room, the reader is the most important person in the room because that's who you're doing your scene work with. Everybody else's audience, it's your first audience. So if you can really focus on being so specific about how you focus your energy in the way that you want, intentionally, that's what makes the biggest impact on your scene partner and therefore your audience as well.
Okay. Just be in the moment kind of thing.
Yes, but it's a focus of energy.
Okay.
Because, energy on stage needs to go this way, right? Because if you're center stage, and you've got the mezzanine up there, you've got to project and your energy's got to go everywhere. Not behind you, but everywhere here, right? But in film, there's no stage, right? The camera is meant to catch a moment. So if you're speaking so specifically to your scene partner, there is a focus of energy from me to you right now that you can probably feel, right? If I was talking like this, it's a different vibe. And a lot of energy, a lot of actors, I'll see them kind of leak their energy over there, over here. And really, this is what allows them to get the call back.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're so dropped into their body that they can communicate that energy and emotion to that recipient across the room.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And you described the 7 steps to elevated truth.
Yes.
Can you explain that, please?
Yeah. So a while back, I'd already been in business for at least 6-7 years. And being in acting class, I had a lot of students that were with me for all of those years. And I could see some getting frustrated that they weren't seeing or being aware of their progress. Now, I could see their progress, but, when you're an actor and you're just going to class every week and you don't know how much you're improving or in which areas you're improving because you're in it, you don't feel it, right? Unless you look back at where you began and can see that measurable growth. And so I created this 7 Steps to Elevated Truth mentorship program, which is you start out, so they align the spine with the chakras. So groundwork engineer has to do with root chakra. Root chakra is getting the lay of the land, right? Getting your tools. It's your survival technique, right? So groundwork introduces you to the chakra approach. You learn the notes of the body. You learn how to emote through emotion through these energy centers. And then you also learn the macro method, which is actually what I taught this weekend at the SAG Fall Intensive. So that's thinking like the person hiring you. So it's left brain versus right brain, right? We need both of them to really create this compelling self-tape or audition that you're going out for, and performance as a whole. So the students learn both of those techniques in the groundwork level. Then they move up to Leap and Creator, which is the sacral. that's about taking risks and being off balance on purpose. So it's a little bit more self-directed as how the student wants to stretch and mold and grow. And so that's taken into consideration in the curriculum. And then they move up to process owner. That's owning your power with your craft, right? And then they move up to heart, which is generous connector. So that's being generous with not only yourself and your craft and your emotional capacity, but also with others. And I really see the difference between people who are at that level and people who are maybe just starting Leaping Creator, because these actors are just so magnanimous. I don't know how to explain it. They're just, they expand in all directions, and it's so clear to see the differences as people rise through the levels. And then throat is truth seeker, right? So you need to be able to speak your truth, and that's, where students will start to write their own scripts as well and really understand who they are as an artist. And then from there, we move up to the third eye, which is intuitive craftsman. So that's when they're able to know what needs to happen in a scene without being told. This is also where the teacher training program starts in my studio. So if this work interests, an actor to want to be compelled enough to teach it, this level is where they start to figure out, oh, okay, I know what needs to happen in a scene as an actor and as a director. And sometimes also as a writer, because they're all connected. It's all expression, it's all storytelling, right? And then elevated artisan is the crown. That's when everything is easily accessible to you, no matter what. You know everything that needs to happen. You're fully aware of the capacity of your body and what you can do across any medium. Theater, TV, film, different, single cam, 3 cam, whatever.
And that's going to take you out of your comfort zone.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Immediately. Day one is out of your comfort zone, because we have to check our egos at the door. And sometimes just doing that is hard. Mm-hmm. It's hard for most.
So do you have any 3-day intensives at the school?
So we don't have any 3-day intensives, but that's interesting that you asked that, because we've had some interest in that. We have month-to-month classes, mm-hmm. And then our groundwork program is between 12 to 16 weeks long, mm-hmm. Broken down into 6 to 8 weeks of macro and 6 to 8 weeks of chakra. So that really gives you the tools. I know who you become by the end of that program. And it's quite amazing that the shift and how quickly it happens. Usually by week 6, people are booking like almost immediately. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Out of the 12 to 16 week program, because of, the way that we kind of break it down and allow you to uncover your own artistry and your own voice. And there's a big sort of support in having each actor find what makes them unique. So if you understand your own voice and your own artistry, you can live in that space all the time, and that level of confidence that comes with that, that's what gets you booked immediately, because no one else is going to do a read like you.
Okay.
And as a director, I've seen many, many auditions come through. And it's incredible to see how many of them are so similar.
Okay.
And what I attribute that to is our egos, right? And what we think should happen. Oh, I should read it like this because it's written like this. Okay, but then 25 other people are going to make that same choice. And now what you've done yourself a disservice, because you've blended in. And I want you to stand out in the best way possible so you can book it.
All right. Well, talking about booking it, I was going to ask you, do you have any audition tips? And, just how do we become bookable?
Yeah. So it's threefold.
Okay.
So the first being understanding what the director needs. And that's going to break down into what I call the 6 keys of the macro method, right? Having a script and being able to break it down in 5 minutes, not from just a who, what, when, where, why, perspective, because that's what everybody does. But I'm more interested in what a director is thinking about, because that's who's really going to hire you, right? Like, yes, the creative team, but really the director has the vision. And they're looking down, they're floating up to this macro perspective. That's why I call it the macro method, because you look down from the top and you see all these pieces that need to fit together. Okay, this relationship has to do this. This scene has to make sure it has this purpose, and we have to fulfill that so that we can hook the audience in here, and then they're going to be with us, and then all these things, And so understanding that puzzle, that's kind of what I call the dartboard, right? So when an actor gives an audition, if they don't know how to land on that dartboard, right? If the director needs this and they go like that, well, you're not going to get a call back, and you're not going to book the job. And you worked hard on something. But if all you needed was just this level of focus of like, okay, well, the director needs what's on this dartboard, so your audition needs to hit it. This is so that's just what's needed. I was just telling this story this past weekend. Back in 2013, I was holding auditions on Santa Monica Boulevard, and we had a whole day of casting, 8 hours, and nobody walked in and gave me what I needed as a director. And I'm talking with the creator, like, what happened? Did we do something wrong on the breakdown? Like, why? How is nobody able to walk? We're in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. How is nobody walking in with what I need, with what we need to fulfill this story? And we had to hold a whole nother day of casting. And I remember thinking, like, I wish they knew this when they walked in. And I wish that was a part of everybody's read, because then I would have the pick of the litter, right? And so that was the precursor to macro method, because if I can empower actors to think like the person hiring them, they're going to hit that dartboard no matter what, every single time. And then from there, so that's what needs to happen. But now it's, how do we make it yours? So if we're on the dartboard, now we have to make it yours, right? That's understanding the chakras and how it lives through you, and how you tell that story, how you share that emotion. Because, 3 people speaking from heart is totally different, because it's unique to them. They're not going to do it all the same, right? 3 people sticking up for their power is not going to be the same. So that's where the uniqueness comes in. And then the third piece of this is the branding, right? I know a lot of people go into branding, and they go somewhere and they say, tell me who I am. Okay. And then you get an answer, and then you go somewhere else and you say, tell me who I am. How would you cast me? And then you get an answer. And sometimes they're conflicting. Sometimes there's overlap. But at the end of the day, you still don't know who you are, because you had no say in that, right? You have to own who you are. You have to uncover the layers to understand, who do you want to be, right? That's intentional work. And sometimes it's scary. I know for me, I have one of my branding characters is the wounded workaholic. And she's not pretty, she's like the Claire Danes in Homeland. Like she works around the clock, and it's from a wounded place, but I can kill those roles. But I had to do a certain level of work to uncover that. Does that make sense? Nobody could say, you can do this. I see you playing that. And that's, if you can understand your essences, right? Your forward-facing essences, that's what I call them. That's your brand. It's how you show up. But it's also how you want to show up, and also sometimes how you don't want to show up. But it's still you. Yeah. And it's still your truth. And it would be I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't, go for those roles like Homeland.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. And seeing everybody uncover their brands. Everybody has about 7 to 8 of them in there, and it's facets of their personality, but it's so specific that no one else has those brands, and that's what's so exciting, because when an actor knows what the director wants, they know how to embody their emotions in a very full, embodied kind of way, and then they know their brand, unstoppable.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. And I've seen it. It's like when people complete all three of those, it's like a stool that can now stand up because all the legs are there.
Okay.
And it's sturdy. And that's what we want for our careers.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we'll just book jobs as much as we can.
Yeah.
So how do you use your body within your approach?
Yeah. So with the chakra warm-up, which is something I mentioned before that all actors will learn on day one when they come into the studio, immediately I ask you to drop into your body, right? Let go of any tension you don't need. You have to connect to the floor. You have to connect to your relaxation in your lower belly and your jaw. These are all hard things. They sound easy, but then when you go to do it, you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize I was holding so much there. Or wow, I'm in a group of new people. I'm not comfortable feeling relaxed, right? But then that shows up when you go into the casting room too. So we want to be able to intentionally let go what we don't need, what won't serve us. And that extra tension can make you look nervous when you may not be. Or it may look like you're disinterested and really you're nervous, right? So we want to let go of all of that stuff. And when you connect to the floor, then I ask you to have a focus on the wall, right? That wall is going to be a person or an entity, whatever you choose. And you have to connect your voice with an action, with where the energy lives in your body, and have that action become a gesture so that it brings your energy within your body and then it goes to the recipient, right? So even just the first chakra, which is root, that's very territorial, right? So even as I sit here, if I'm going to go into root, I have to uncross my legs. I have to feel something underneath my feet, because if I'm going to really command a room, right? If I'm going to command the whole room, all of my energy has to go rooted into the earth, like 6 feet underground, right? Mm-hmm. And then if I'm going to tell somebody what they need to hear, right? Life or death situation, I have to focus that energy. I have to be in my body. Things are happening in here. My temperature goes up. The production of my saliva either goes up or down. It changes with each person. And that's what's interesting too, is that everybody has a unique experience to this, right? Mm-hmm. When we go up to sacral, well, that's more of a sort of a gooey place, right? That's where we feel nervousness. That's where we feel excitement, right? That's where we feel our sexuality or creativity, right? So that's more of a experience that I'm having by myself, right? But if I want to share that with you, that's where sort of I can make myself embarrassed on cue if I need to. And then all of a sudden the cheeks get flushed and, the hairs on my arm go up. So these physiological responses are happening because I'm using my energy. The energy also brings in an emotion, but the emotion is what I'm not after the emotion. I'm after the energy curation. So when you focus on that, that's where you are in control of your instrument, and you can repeat it many times over. Yeah. And that's just 2 of the chakras. I can go on if you want, but this is already, how you stick up for yourself, right? Even on power chakra, this sort of like I need you to do this for me, right? It's a softer cousin to root. Root was life or death, right? But power is more of this, I need you to do this for me, or I deserve a raise, or you can't treat me like that, right? It's not life or death. And there's more of a relationship there, mm-hmm. right? So each quality of each chakra is very different. And when you understand the capacity of each one, your performances are limitless.
Okay.
Yeah. That's only 3 of them, by the way. There's 4 more.
So do you teach cold read?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you
so
do?
that's part of the macro method. So when you come in for the groundwork engineer program, you're given cold reads for the first 6 to 8 weeks. Every class you're getting a new cold read, because you have to apply the 6 keys. and I need to know that you've got it, right? So we do 5-minute quizzes, and you have to apply these keys every single time. And now you got to immediately get it in your body and be free and open, and you let your body be able to improv once you have those parameters, right? Because that dartboard that we talked about before, that's just the decisions you made, right? That's the thing that needs to happen to fulfill what the director needs, you know? And sometimes your answers match other people's, and sometimes they're a little bit differently, you know, they come out a little differently. Either way, if it's on the dartboard, it's fair game, and it flexes your artistry. That was something that I didn't quite understand until Macro and Chakra entered my life. You know, growing up and doing different techniques in college, and when I lived in New York at different studios, artistry wasn't discussed. It was like, do the technique, and then that's your technique, and then hopefully it happens when the camera's rolling, and you can do it for however many takes. But this idea of artistry, I didn't know what that was. But that's what makes the actors that we love. That's what makes us love them, is their artistry. So that's a big part of what I talk about at the studio, and what I empower my actors to explore and take risks with, because every risk they take is reflective of their artistry. Every decision they make is reflective of their artistry. And that's so empowering and so exciting.
And are you working on anything right now?
Yeah, actually. Yeah. So this past weekend, I had a film in 2 festivals, Lady Filmmakers and also Burbank International. So that was a horror film that I played the villain in.
Okay.
So that was fun. So that's hitting the festival circle now. That's called The Secret in the Basement. And I play the evil mother. Lots of chakra work in that, all root, you know, all life or death stuff. It's actually a little freaky watching myself be that evil on screen. But then the next project that's coming up quite quickly is we just booked our flights to New York and Boston and Austin. I'm shooting a feature film, directing a feature film that stars pretty much all of my students in some way, shape, or form, which is going to be awesome because everybody knows Macro and Chakra. So the level of work on set already, people have this incredible synergy, and we all understand our piece and our part in it. And I'm so excited to direct that feature. It's a modern day take on Macbeth. So heavy duty, as we had said before, but so much fun.
Okay, so what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah. So I think probably email Murisa, Murisa, at about-the-work.com. I'm also on Instagram, Murisa Harba, at Murisa Harba. And yeah, we love our community. We hold events all the time. And it's so great to see actors come together and be able to create together and hang out together and just be without it having to feel industry. You know what I mean? And those parties are great too. But also when you can be yourself, that counts for a lot.
Yeah.
For actors, especially when you've moved away from your home, and to find your acting family and to feel comfortable with them and to feel accepted, and that you belong. That's how you take care of yourself and your mind so that you can continuously practice your craft.
All right. And anything else you would like to add?
I think this would just be a disclaimer out into the world. You know who you are if this is you. If you think you have more to give and more to explore within yourself, come find us. You know, we're a come as you are type of studio. we're incredibly diverse and we accept, everybody pending they're willing to get into the, like, roll up those sleeves and get into the work, and find out what they're truly made of. And if this sounds like you, come check us out about the work.
And you're located in Los Angeles, right?
Yes, we're in East Hollywood, Los Feliz area, right on Vermont by Fountain.
Okay, yeah, then it's very centered.
Yeah.
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 All right. Well, Murisa, thank you so much for being here.
You got it.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.